So, guys, before we get into this, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Chris Cheng, who is the original creator of this tutorial that I'm following today. I will link the original video in the description if you would like to follow along. Now, this is a two-part series. So, today I'm doing part one. Originally, I was going to be doing part one and part two of her videos. So, her part one and part two in just make it as one video. However, part one took me nearly 9 hours to complete, and I felt like I would be speeding up my footage too fast to really get any value out of it. Hence why we are splitting it up today. Now I'm starting with the bottom part of the image, which is of course how Chris does it in her tutorial. So we are in Johanna Basford's Worlds of Wonder today. And I know a lot of you guys know exactly which tutorial I'm talking about. I put a post up on my channel just to see how it'd go and just to post just a picture of a few little bits that I'd colored already. And I had so many comments saying, oh my gosh, we have tried this. We found it so hard. Good luck. You can do this. You've got this. And I thought, you know what? Given the response from you guys, I knew that I had to film this because I wasn't going to. I was just going to do it myself because I thought, oh, no one's really going to care about this. But I had so many people that, yeah, we just had such an emotional response, all of us. So I thought, you know what? We are filming. So in we go. We are working with Prismacolor pencils today, and we are also using a white Signo, which you can see here. And I also have a couple of Posca pens as well. I've got a red, a yellow, and a white for part one. Guys, I had so many emotions doing this. I don't know why I thought it was going to be easier than it was, because when you watch it, it's like, oh yeah, yeah. And then when you dive in, it's just a completely different story. So we've started off with these crystals here, and I felt like that was easy enough. I had a bit of trouble here with the outlining of the crystals. I just couldn't get the pen to work. I think because I'd already blended and burnished so many layers already. Because if there's one thing about this tutorial is that we do blend and burnish, but then we go on the top for a second layer and add more color and add more color and add more color. And if in doubt, just add another layer. I really love the night theme below in part one. I love all the tones, and my powder blue and my slate grey really got to work out. Yeah, I've just learnt so much. So going in with this black here, and it was a real struggle to keep this really light, because one thing I didn't really realize until I got to the point was that I think I just layered too heavy, and so a lot of my images or portions of my colored images just came up really scratchy, and I did notice it when I burnished these first couple of windows. So I have tried my best to go in with a light hand, but golly gosh, it was a challenge. My first experience of frustration with myself was when I was burnishing these two crystal windows here. I was like, you know what? I can't do this. And I was thinking about stopping it, but I kept going because I thought, well, maybe once the whole thing's done, I will like it. So you can see it's just a little bit scratchy. It's not as smooth as I would like to. However, this is one of the first times that I'm blending and burnishing in this way. So usually I will blend and burnish as I go. I won't layer like this. It's just not a coloring style that I'm used to, but I'm here for the long haul. We are doing this. I have been watching this tutorial, I think, for, I reckon the first time I saw this was like August 2024, and I fell in love with it. And I've always had the idea in the back of my head to do it. And for some reason, I think I don't know what was happening. I was daydreaming or something like that. And I just thought, oh, this would be fun to do. And so here we are. Now, one thing I've noticed with this tutorial as well is we don't always maintain a sharp point. So sometimes we're using sharp points with our pencils, and other times Chris is using more of a flat edge on her pencil. So I'm really trying to take note of that as well. And the biggest thing that I found, so the number one method to get through this tutorial is I would just watch one color at a time and then pause the video. So there was no point in trying to keep up. There was no point in trying to get it done in 2.5 hours because I was just going to rush, and because there are some cuts as well. So for example, if when we completed one cluster of jewels, the next cluster just magically appeared because we're coloring it the same way. So I believe she's done it that way just to save time so that the tutorial is not hours long, which totally fine. So yep, I get it. Yeah, I just had to keep my eye out for little sneaky additions. So just color as you go, which yeah, that makes sense, but just pause it when the color changes and catch up. I know that sometimes I definitely felt like I was just pausing so often, which I think it's why I had 9 hours of footage for a 2.5 hour video. However, I didn't want to rush and I wanted to get it right because there were some times where I tried to keep up and I just was not enjoying it. I felt like I was rushing, I was missing things, and especially with the cuts when things would randomly appear, I would miss them only to find them, say, 10 minutes down in the video, and then I felt like I had to catch up. So, this is something that we just take our time with. There's no rush here, so I was more than happy to take 9 hours to complete this page. I had trouble with these bricks as well. I'm sure they look fine, and they do look fine, but yeah, I just found it a bit difficult to make them look as smooth, but of course that was going to happen. I think I did just go in trying to convince myself that, I would learn a lot of things, but there would be some things that will need work that I'll need to practice with because, yeah, with these drawing in these bricks, as much as I love this, I've never done it before. So, something I'm going to have to practice. And I believe for part two on the castle above, I think that's what we're going to go with. I think there's going to be some brickwork in there too. And I know that the other page next to this, adjacent to this, is very similar. So I will be treating it as a double page spread. However, I don't think I'll be going in to do it for quite some time yet. I will probably have to watch the video again this side and just bring everything over. But I'm just going to focus on this for now. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself here. So we are using a lot of browns and greys for the bricks and adding in a bit of mineral orange. And I like the way that Chris uses her skills and her knowledge for different light sources. So how I really like the effect of the shading that's underneath the plants and how it comes out to reveal the brickwork. I feel like it provides a lot of depth and I've just learnt so much. And I think there is a huge difference between, because I have watched this video a few times and I've picked up some tips and tricks. However, I feel that I learn the most by doing. So I wish I had just followed this at the start. However, in saying that, potentially I wouldn't have had the skills to do so. But I feel like I was able to get through and complete it well enough. And I know my Prismacolors enough that I kind of know what color it is without it being on the screen. She does put every color on the screen, but when we jump to when things are just randomly added in and it's like, oh, those flowers are colored. Like, I think she doesn't show that cluster of flowers in the bottom right hand corner being colored. They just appear. But I felt like I was okay with that because you can just grab whatever colors have already been used. And I did see a couple of extras in there that have been added, but I know my Prismas well enough that I was able to go, oh, yep, I think that one's grade lavender, or I think that's a mix of this and that. So just bear in mind that this does get easier the better you know your pencils. And I have the 150 set, so we actually didn't use as many pencils as I thought. I mean, I've probably pulled a third out, so there's probably like 40 to 50 odd pencils that we have used. So, like, it is a lot, but I kind of thought that we would have been using a whole stack, so which was easier. And this green combination here is a theme that's woven right throughout this bottom section. I'm sure it's in the top two, but in this bottom section here, it's Prussian, green, and chartreuse, and some pale sage. And I like that there was a lot of consistency with the leaf colors here. It made it really easy. Other colors that are really consistent is the powder blue, the black, indigo, and ultramarine blue, which I love that we use the ultramarine because that is a pencil I don't usually reach for. It doesn't get a lot of love. So, one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this tutorial as well is because I could just use colors that I don't usually reach for. So, and I feel like I've learnt a lot with coloring these vines. Again, it's just such a different approach with the way I color. So, I usually will blend and burnish rather than layer. So, to actually layer instead of the usual way that I do it was really handy. I certainly won't be permanently changing to this. I prefer the other way that I do it. I'm definitely not saying that I think it's better. It's just more suited to me. There are a lot of situations where I can bring this into play. Absolutely. And already just look at the depth that we're achieving. And yeah, this was one of those times where I was really happy. I was like, yeah, this is looking great. Like as long as it had taken me already. I think that section there was like 2 hours. And the chartreuse is one of my favorite Prismacolors, so I was really happy to be using this. And again, just touching on the tips so far. So again, what I found the most beneficial was just following it color by color. So not trying to keep up, just pause it after each color change. There is text on the screen, so you'll kind of see out of the corner of your eye when it changes. And number two is don't let the cuts throw you off. So if things randomly appear, what she's really saying is we've used this technique and these colors before, so just apply it. Well, that's how I'm interpreting it. That's how she's saying it anyway. I certainly don't want to be putting words in her mouth. Just keep that in mind too. If a flower suddenly appears it's colored, rather than go, oh my gosh, what is this? Just reach for the pencils that you've already used and try and eyeball it. So more often than not, there's going to be a black, there's going to be an indigo blue, there's going to be a dark purple, and there's definitely going to be a powder blue. If it's pink, it's going to be a hot pink, it's going to be a deco pink in there too. So just do your best to match it. Another great thing about this tutorial as well is that her camera angles are really great. She's really clear and you can always see the pencil tip, which I find is really helpful. And of course, how her brain works is just amazing. Like how to look at a blank slate like this and know what to do is just incredible. So, again, a huge shout out to Chris Cheng for all the amazing work that she does here on YouTube. Guys, there are plenty of people like Chris here on the color tube. So, it's a huge creative stretch to do stuff like this, but I definitely think that it is worthwhile even just once every 6 months just jumping in and going full out of your comfort zone and having a go. And I hope that the purpose for this video, I suppose, is not only to share how my tips and tricks and my experiences, but to also encourage you to have a go and that even if you just have to chip away at it and go slower than you usually would, then that's totally fine because this is one of the most beneficial ways to learn. So, if I can encourage you to, if you've abandoned this page because it seems too hard, I encourage you to jump back in. If I can do it, so can you, because I find it really hard to follow color alongs. I have to pause the videos all the time because I just get so stressed and I can't, yeah. But I'm trying to teach myself to follow them because, again, there are so many great colorists on YouTube that I would love to color with them. So, and I feel like I'm just a part of their community when I do so. So, it's a learning curve for me too. So, I find it difficult too. So, let's struggle together and get this and have a win, right? One good thing about the night sky here is that it's the same for every little pocket of night sky that we have. So we're starting with the black shading and just doing it in a few layers. And I did have to go back and forth quite a few times. And I'm sure, yeah, I really could have just been lighter up the top here. I really did struggle. But again, It's just practice for me, right? And sometimes too, you might find so say if there's some black layering that's done, you might only see half of it on the video and then it'll switch to the next color. So a tip for that is when it switches, just keep watching and wait till she moves her hand because it might be there and then try and pause it and then you can just try and replicate the color placement. Yeah, I feel like I was way too scribbly there. I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get it as even as she does. And of course, I'm not going to because of how advanced she is. I mean, yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, just that bit at the top corner. I was like, "Meh." And I think too, that indigo blue, it's a very it's not a mushy color. I reckon it's probably the most solid, hard pigment that the Prismacolor has. So I find the white is one of the most crumbliest and the reds, but this indigo blue is one of the hardest. It's yeah, I don't wear through them very quickly like I would the other colors, like I would our burnishing colors, so like our powder blues, our whites, our deco colors, but yeah, if you so it's great for that. However, if you're trying to blend and burnish with it, it can be a little bit difficult. And I found that that ultramarine, which is the color that I've got here, really just brightened up the whole thing. But again, I was trying to when I was trying to layer the pencil, I was just trying to go straight instead of just do straight lines opposed to scumbling because the scumbling looked more scratchy. And just trying to get more color lay down the bottom. And here we're going in with that powder blue. My powder blue has never had such a workout, but yeah, here I was just getting so frustrated as well. I actually think I was making noises at this point. I was like gurring or something. And I was sitting at the table and I was like, this is so hard. Because you can see, like, I'm trying to burnish it here and it's just not blending. And I'm like, what have I done wrong? And I'm sure that there is someone out there watching this who knows exactly why it's happening. And if you know, please let me know. I would love to know because I was playing around with, I was like, right, do I need to have a sharper point? Do I need to do this? And what about that? And that black little smudge above the boat there was some kind of pigmenty rocky thing in the pencil. And oh man, it just completely smudged in the middle there. And I was getting so frustrated. So I was trying to stay calm. I was almost going to get sticky notes and just write a sentence about how I was feeling and stick it there so you could just see it. But I'm like, no, 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 I remember this. This is in my soul. I remember this. I'm not going to forget this for a long time. But I will say, as much as I was feeling frustrated and all the different things that I was experiencing, and just how I had to keep my wits about me and the focus that I had to have was so hard, it was so rewarding. So rewarding. Even yeah, just with part 1, which I prefer the part 2 is a lot more brighter and it has like greens and rainbows and so I'm so much more excited for that. But the satisfaction that I felt completing this bit and what I've learnt was amazing. So I cannot wait to film part 2. As I'm talking to you here, I have not completed part 2 yet. I haven't even started to film it. I'm just getting things done one at a time. So I'll release this video. So maybe by the time you're watching it, I would have started it. But yeah, at the time of this recording, I have not. And I can't wait. I really just want to jump in, but I've got so much to do. And I'm trying to go over the top with a second burnish here. So, hmm. Hmm. And I think over here was this part was completed off camera. So I've just paused the video and I've tried to grab not a screenshot, but I've tried to pause it at a point where I can see this and I'm just trying to follow because I think it's not burnished, but there are plenty of layers in. So I'm just trying to eyeball it and follow. And I feel like okay, so I can't draw to save myself, but I feel like I'm a little bit more naturally inclined to be able to replicate color placement just by eyeballing it. So I'm thankful for that little skill that I have. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but it's one of my stronger points when it comes to my art. But yeah, to draw something, there's no way. Like I couldn't draw something to save myself. No way. I mean, like when would you? But yeah, I couldn't. I love doing this boat. It was so fun. And this slate grey is really getting a workout. I have so many little pencils that I have purchased replacements for, and I have a whole tub of them. And I feel like this page has been really good of just working through and whittling down those little pencils that I have. And half of the pencils that I've used for this page, I have put in my pencil extender. And I reckon if I added up all the time, I reckon it'd be like half an hour of just sitting there and replacing because I can't fit it in the sharpener. So, like, you have to take it out. So, I'm hoping that I can just move through some of my pencil replacements. And yeah, definitely will with this slate grey because that slate grey has been small for months. And again, just not going in too heavy. The only heavy application and heavy pressure that I ever did was with the burnishing. The rest is very light. I mean, apart from these little windows here, that was quite heavy because that was just one layer. But even towards the end, as we were burnishing, I was realizing that even though we burnish something, it doesn't mean that we're done with the layering. So I tried to back off the burnishing pressure just a little bit because I was thinking about how difficult it is to actually add layers over the top of a burnished point because there's no more paper tooth left. So I was trying to just adjust a little bit as I went along. Again, because you don't have someone that is talking to you step by step and saying exactly what they're doing. So you do have to kind of try and wing it a little bit and try and use your own intuition with it, which can be really tough, but it's something that once you sit down and do the tutorial and once you've done it for a few hours, you begin to pick up patterns, you'll begin to pick up little nuances that are quite common. So it makes it easier to follow along because you know that, okay, so once we've burnished, we are actually going to go in and add more layers and darken things up. So maybe I won't burnish too heavy. But of course, at the start, I didn't realize that. But towards the middle to the end, I was like, aha. So it was easier. And we use a lot of this burnt ochre as well. Ochre, you know what I mean. I really enjoyed colouring that little platform there. So fun. I don't know why. It was just really nice. Wrong pencil there. There we go. So often, because I have just a little tray that they all sit in, and they all jumble up. So I just would pick up a blue violet lake opposed to a slate grey. I do have some pencil cases coming, so I will have the Prismacolor trays available so I can sit the pencils in some kind of order so they're easier to pick up. I just don't have my pencil cases yet, so the Prismacolors just sit in their original trays and then I pull them out and I sit them in it's like a little serving platter, like a little porcelain platter, and I sit them in there so they don't roll around and drop. So in those cute little red flowers there, that's when we bring in some Posca and some red Posca here. And look how that yellow is just bleeding into the red. So my yellow Posca, as much as I activate it and try and shake it together, it doesn't. So unfortunately, it will bleed a little bit, but that's just part of the game. That's just, this is part of the Posca love, you know? I absolutely love these hanging stars. This whole page is just so full of whimsical charm. I know that the word whimsical is very popular at the minute, but it just describes this really well. I try not to use it too often because you know it's just everything's whimsical, but this is really the vibe of the page. I really enjoyed coloring this water too. I didn't realize that we weren't going to apply that much color to this at all. We really just apply some light color placement and then going in with the pencil and burnishing it. And we leave quite a bit of white there just to replicate moonlight on the water, which this is a technique that I think I'm definitely going to be using because coloring water for me is a bit difficult. I struggle to make movement in water, if that makes sense. I'm fine if I'm coloring little sections where I can just do a color gradient, but things like this where you want to add some light and some movement, I find it a bit tough. So I feel like I've got something in the bag now that I can use. And making these little water splashes was so fun. My white Posca pen, the one I've got here, does behave mostly. I was mostly happy with it. Sometimes it can be a bit watery. I'm just trying to make these water little wavy things look natural and not like a signature. And I don't know why we added that white in. There were some colours that we added in, and I was kind of wondering if that was Chris having a bit of a play. I mean, maybe it was very intentional. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm professional artist enough to understand many things. Oh, the way she's done this water, it's just beautiful. It's like this beautiful, it's like paint. It's just, yeah, how she just makes the pencils look like paint is just chef's kiss. And another tip that I have found is, or that I've learnt from this, is really being intentional about going over those black lines because you can, if you want to achieve like a more blended look and more soft, going over the black lines can be beneficial. It's not something that I'll use all the time, but certainly for those ivy leaves above that are growing on the wall, going over the black lines certainly has added to the whole completed look of the picture. Now, these flowers here were the ones that weren't colored on screen, so I'm just doing my best to color match and blend colors where I can. So I'm just working through the colors that we have already used and are already in my little tray. So one tip as well, when you use a color, don't put it back. Don't put it back in your full set of Prismas. Just keep it out because you'll never know when you'll use it again. And I'm just trying to copy as well how she's like where she's placed each color because I mean it's a tutorial and I'm following it. So I'm like, okay, that's what we're doing because I know she's got a better idea of that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I'm like, yep, we're doing it. I think the only extra color that I brought out was a grade lavender. It could have well been a blend of another purple and a grey, but to me, that's just what made sense. And as well, because I don't have, so in the light purple colors, so I think she's got lavender and lilac. So my Prisma set doesn't have that. So I have orchid and amethyst. So I think I could be wrong here, but when it was lavender, I used orchid, and when it was amethyst, I used sorry, when it was lilac, I used amethyst because lilac is a little bit more of a pinky color, and so amethyst is the same. And whereas the orchid and the lavender were a bit more of a blue purple, in my opinion. I could have it the wrong way around, but when I was looking at it, yeah, it just made sense to me at the time. And this background as well behind the flowers was not colored on camera, which is fine, more than fine. So I just used the same colors as I did for the windows. Like I was saying before, if when you're following the tutorial long enough, you'll begin to pick up what color combination is what, and you'll be able to see the similarities. And I think because we're trying to replicate nighttime and moonlit glow, and so bringing those colors and weaving them through multiple areas is what brings harmony. So I know that, okay, so we've got some deep dark blues here, so I'm going to bring in that ultramarine and I'm going to bring in that indigo blue as well, and definitely the black. And I know that we're burnishing with powder blue, so it's kind of, yeah, it was an easy one to do because I just knew what we'd already used, and because already we've already used these colors so much, and kind of knowing that that reddy brown was burnt ochre anyway because we've already used it, so I wasn't too stressed about what color to do when it wasn't colored on camera. I just had to get my wits about me. I just had to always be on the lookout, like, what's next? Oh, that's colored. Let's do that. It's like I had to have 4 or 5 eyes everywhere. If I could turn into a chameleon, I would, doing this tutorial. And again, if you would like to follow this tutorial, if you would like to pull it out again, I have linked it in the description below. And my hope is that you do. If you've abandoned the page, I hope that I provide some encouragement to you to bring it out again because, yeah, her work is amazing and you can do it. And I really like how the brown is woven through here, how it's woven through these like landscape little hills and mounds, if you will, because it just gives the hint that in the daylight they would be brown, but because it's night, we've just got this soft bathed light, which, yeah, I'd love to get to the point where I could actually imagine that in my mind's eye before I go and color a page. I'm sure we'll get there. Yeah, one of my favorite parts was definitely blending all of these colors through the landscape and adding chartreuse into the little grass, little fronds there, but also adding it through the bank as well, which was just really nice. And I loved doing these flowers. Oh my goodness, these were so fun. I think because we've just done so many blue objects, I was just ready for some pizzazz. And I know that I hope I really enjoy part two because of all the lovely green that we have. And I'm really keen to explore this way of colouring flowers. I've only done it a couple of times, but the whole concept of applying different layers and mixing warm and cool colours and then burnishing them over the top. I would like to have a little bit more of a go at this. And I think even though I was trying not to rush and I was just pausing between colours, at the same time, I was probably rushing a little bit because I was following something and I was so focused that I was just in this flow. Whereas if I was making it up myself, I might be a little bit more, yeah, I might be slower at it. I was trying my best to be super delicate here. Especially on this end here when the page when it goes into the crease, into the margin, not the margin, the spine. It was really hard to get it smooth. See how scratchy it was? And as much as I tried to flatten out the page there with my fingers, it was, oh man. I think if there was one acronym or phrase that I could use to describe my whole experience with this would be lol. It's so funny because I would do things and then I would just get so frustrated. Like I would start to feel like not angry with myself, but almost. Then there were other times where I'd do something and be like, haha, lol. And I would say that out loud because I was just so amused. And then there were certainly other times where I'd look back and go, oh, I did a thing. How cool. And I definitely think the pain that you go through and the disappointment and the frustration, it's all worth it when you finish that part and you look back and you're like, "Oh, I'm so proud of myself." And you just want to put it on your fridge. You just want to get it and go, "Look, mum, I did a thing." Which again was the whole vibe of this thing. Like I was looking at my completed part of part 1 and I was like, "Ah!" I just wanted to be like, "Mum, look." But yeah, super scratchy. It actually looks more scratchy on camera than it does in real life, so I was almost a little bit hesitant to show it because I was just like, oh, but you know what? This is real. This is not fake color tube. This is not fake YouTube. This is real. And I want to show you guys all the realness and show you all the emotion because we all get it. We all experience it. And no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm here for the joy of coloring and for the fun of the exploration and the experimentation. And I'm here to feel all the feels. So, yeah, here we are. This was another section that I was blending and burnishing that wasn't on camera as well. And I think it came out fine. It looks no different than the other side. So, yeah. And bringing up some of that black just for a bit of depth as well, but not knowing where to stop it, I think was the thing. And trying to go in and layer things when things have already been burnished was hard. I found that really hard to follow. Because you couldn't achieve that first layer look without burnishing it, because otherwise I just would have, the paper tooth would have been showing through. So, yeah, I don't know. Whether my pencils were too sharp, I'm not sure. And this was another part. These leaves as well were things that weren't done on camera, but I was quite comfortable with how the leaves were done anyway, because every single leaf is kind of done the same way. So I was happy to just eyeball this one and go, yep, 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 easy done. Overall, I was definitely having a lot of fun. I was definitely getting a lot of satisfaction out of this and a sense of achievement and a huge sense of adventure as well. And I just absolutely love the color combination of this, the beautiful violets that we've got here in the indigo blue. I really liked how this particular flower came out. Stunning. And I liked how we also leave a portion of this uncolored. So the envelopes that there's a vase there over on that platform and some of these flower centers as well, we do leave white. This blue one is colored in. However, I think there are plenty others that are left white, and especially the flower cluster on the right hand side, we leave those white. And I think, yeah, I like that decision. It can really add, it can just make them pop. You could go and fill them in with powder blue if you wanted to, but I'll leave them for now. And I like here that every flower is different too. Every flower is coloured a little bit differently. So the two flowers are up the top there, so we've got the opposing colours there. This little cluster is the same. So tips for bringing over all of this to that page on the left there that is uncoloured. So once you've done the whole thing, so once we've done part 1 and part 2, what you could do is go back and run through the tutorials, and there are quite a lot of elements that are the same across both. So for example, the brickwork, the night sky, some of the flowers are the same. There's some jewels there too. So start bringing over and colouring those things that are there, and then it's really a process of elimination so that by the time we've brought over some of the same themes, we'll be able to make better decisions about what to do next and what to replicate. So that tree there with the swing, so those leaves could be Prussian green and the chartreuse, and you could just colour it the same way. Some of those flowers down the bottom there as well. There are a couple of elements that I'm like, oh, I'm not quite sure how I would do that, or if I would make them blue or green. But I think just starting by eliminating and colouring what we know is similar is going to be helpful. But again, I'm probably not going to do this for a while, but never say never. And I'm definitely keen to follow more of her tutorials. I know that there's some in World of Flowers that I'm really keen to do. She has some ones with a bokeh effect, which I really struggle with a bokeh effect. I've tried it so many times and just fail epically. So I'm going to keep trying because I think it looks really nice. And I've seen so many completed pages with it. I'm like, oh, if only I could do it. So I'm going to keep trying. And I love this pink flower here. It's like a hint of the top half of the page just coming through. Now, thankfully, this portion was filmed, which was good, so I could go in and fill in these little gaps. There were a couple of details that I suppose I didn't notice. So one thing that I probably haven't done, but doesn't really matter, is leaving a white space next to the vine centers so that you can fill that in with chartreuse, and so it's got some kind of contrast. I didn't do that. I think just because I didn't notice it. But I'm talking about the 1%ers here, so don't worry if you don't notice it either. I think I try. So there, next to that pink flower, that vine that's on the edge there, a tiny bit of a white gap is there. I think maybe I tried to do it and then I just forgot about them and went over them. I can't remember, even though it was yesterday when I did this. It's amazing what 24 hours can do. How much your brain can just filter out. And so we're just getting darker. The closer we are to objects, we're getting darker and we're applying heavier pressure because we've got shadows, and we're just filtering out more to a lighter pressure. And again, just keep pausing the video to catch up. Pause at every color change. It might be the slower way to do it, but you're going to be so much more at peace doing it that way. Unless you're an amazing speed colorist and can keep up. I certainly can't. So yeah, I think it's just about adapting the videos to make them work for you. and adapting how you watch the videos to make them work for you. Again, how Chris has thought do to color these banks in such a way is just amazing. I would have never thought of it. I mean, of course I wouldn't because yeah, I'm not a professional artist, but do I have to be? No. And filling in with some black here just to deepen up. And back in again with our trusty chartreuse and Prussian green. And notice as well how not every vine or plant frond is the same. So there's some that we're colouring quite heavy and then some that is left light. Creates a really nice contrast. So I think just being notice blah, 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 noticing these little things too. And I absolutely love this Imperial Violet colour. I'm pretty sure it was Imperial Violet. And going with blue, violet, like, oh, just amazing combinations. I definitely have used these colours before in some of my colour alongs and really loving the purples. As much as we don't have a huge purple variety in the Prismas, and I'm not quite sure that many pencil brands do. I could be wrong. I mean, I only have 3, so I probably am. But yeah, and again, this section I'd just forgotten to do. So I was just going back in to do it. I can't remember if all the flowers were done at once or if half were done and then the other half were done. I can't remember, but knowing me, I probably just got halfway through and then got distracted with the next thing and then was just like, okay, going back there. I wasn't focusing on being too neat because bringing some, so coloring over the lines and bringing some of the pigment in actually enhanced the look and helped it to look more paint like and to look more like the moonlight and the night sky was just dappling through everything. So again, neatness, yes, it was important, but I think knowing when just to let your pencil go a bit crazy was helpful. I struggled with this pink flower down here. I don't know why, I just did. I love that violet one that we did in the center. The blue one, blue violet one. Yeah, loved it. Struggled with the other one. Isn't it funny how you just struggle with some flowers and then some you're like, yep, nailed it, and you don't know why? And I think I'm trying to remember if these were filmed too, or whether I just had to make it up. I can't remember. Oh no, I think this one was there because I remember being like, "Oh, pale sage," because we hadn't used it in so long, and those the apple green starts to come in now as well. Oh, these little woody bits were hard. Yeah, I really struggled with this. It was the brickwork and this, yeah, just anything brown I found really hard. Apart from the boxes, but yeah, it was just, oh man, struggle. I think just to try and get the shading right, and I think by the time, if you've been at something for a while, your patience can just draw a bit thin, wear a bit thin, which, yeah, it's just gonna happen. So I was like, okay, look, uh, I've just, the more I do with this and the more I work my way through, the less frustrated with myself I'm getting because I'm just coming to expect, I'm just learning to expect that certain elements are going to be hard. And I'm like, yep, that just is what it is right now. So I'm just going to accept it. And it just made me less anxious and less frustrated with certain things. I found that I can get quite frustrated if I'm looking at something and I know what I'm trying to replicate, but my brain and my hands don't connect in the way that I want them to. And I know that I'm trying to have a light pressure, but I'm not seeing a light pressure come out on the page. And I'm like, why is this not working? And I've just come to go, yep, I've just come to learn that, like, yep, that's how it is. And I'm going to roll with it. I'll get better eventually, which I don't always feel that calm about it. But the more I tell myself and just convince myself that it's all good in the hood, it's all G in the H, then yeah, the more relaxed I feel and the more enjoyment I get out of this. Because again, I could go back in a year's time and do this page again and I might color completely differently. So there's just, yeah, there's no way to know how your journey is going to unfold. Oh, I love these little flowers. Oh, I was sitting there thinking I definitely want to do these on a bigger page and I know that Johanna does have a lot of similar work. So I'm like, mm-hmm. And yes, so it's these leaves that were done off camera, but I felt like I knew enough of what we had done prior to be able to do it. And I'm just loving this Prussian green chartreuse combination. It's so vibrant, and especially with this purple. So I love this. I am going to use this. And I'm going to try to remember too. So in my future videos, if there's techniques that I've learned from Chris, I'm going to mention it because she has so much to offer and there is so much to learn from her and there's so many opportunities to grow. So I've got to write it down somewhere. I've got to stick it on my forehead or stick it on a mirror or something like that. Because yes, her artistic interpretation is amazing. So I don't know if she'll ever watch this, but if you ever do, thank you so much for what you bring. It's just amazing. And more brickwork here. My heart sunk a little bit when I saw that because it did a cut to the completed brickwork as well. So this was a challenge to bring out and try and remember my skills and the colors that we had used and the method that we had used for the other side on the other side of the ladder. So I just kind of went in and was like, "Bleh, bleh, bleh, I think this is it." If there's anything specifically that you have struggled with in part one, let me know in the comments because hopefully by the time I'm ready to record the voiceover for part two, I would have seen your comment and I might be able to provide some tips. So let me know what you found difficult. Let me know what you enjoyed about this because I would love to talk about that too. So yeah, let me know. and just trying to provide do some more shading around the bottom there. And I really love the way this lamp came out. Oh, it is so, I love it so much because there's hardly any yellow on this page and on this section of the page. So it just pops so much. I love it. It's one of my favorite things about it. I think, yeah, the leaves on the wall and the way they're shaded and the shading behind them and that light, just, yeah, fave. So, guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for part two so you can get a notification, and make sure to turn the bell on so that you know when part two drops. I will be filming them back to back. So, the next time that I'm sitting at my table, I will be filming part two. I do have a couple of other videos to do, but I will be filming part two. So, keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you're watching ahead of time and part two is already released, make sure you go and check it out so you can see the progression of this beautiful page by Chris Cheng. By this point, it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I just wanted to finish it. Do you ever get to the point where you know it's late and you got to go to bed, but you just want to finish it, or you have to go do something else and you feel like you're rushing a little bit? Yeah, 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 that was me. At this point, I was like, quick! Which goes against the whole mindfulness thing that we're trying to achieve here, but still. Oh, I'm loving that like moss effect that we've got going there. It's nice. I like it. I think I've definitely tried to bring that out in other coloring pages that I've done after I've watched Chris's stuff. But again, like I was saying, there is a huge difference between watching something and trying to replicate it than, and like afterwards and actually following a tutorial. Your neural pathways will get stronger if you follow the tutorial with it in front of you rather than, I mean, for me, it does it anyway. So trying to follow it rather than going, oh, yeah, yeah, that makes sense, and then applying it to another page down the track. Doing it this way was so, so much more beneficial for me. And finishing off with some lovely earthy tones. I really like how we're going in with the slate grey, and once the tutorial's finished, I do try and darken up a couple of areas because I feel like I've missed a few bits, but that's all right. That's how we do it. And I like how glowy it looks. So as part one comes to a close, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you stick around for part two, and I hope that you stick around and check out some other tutorials on my channel because I love having a crack at things. I love a coloring challenge, and I love trying to demystify and break up those really difficult pages for you guys. I know that a lot of us struggle with difficult things like Kirby and stuff. I still struggle with Kirby. So, yeah, I'm here to help you guys, and I'm here to learn with you, and I hope that you feel a little bit more confident to tackle a Chris Cheng page. Finishing off these last little leaves here. Oh, guys, chef's kiss. It's looking so good. Can you hear my stomach? My stomach is grumbling. I'm so hungry. I need to go eat some lunch. Thank you, guys. It's been a joy to chat with you. And huge thank you to Chris.